Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we have real conversations with community that needs to be heard. On today's conversation, we have the wonderful honor of speaking with Bridget Wood, RD, LD, CDC, ES. Yes, must gift you those acronyms because you've gone through a lot to gain that, and it must be respected.
Thank you. I always joke about it and I forget, but you're absolutely right. I've earned these letters. Nobody gave them to me, and the respect needs to be demanded. My name needs to be respected. So I appreciate that.
Put some respect on her damn name.
Please, ASAP.
For real. Look, I see your stories often.
Thank you. I'm like,
Look, Bridget is someone that I know in the DOC diabetic online community, from having conversations, but also like, I don't know if you recall this, Bridget. We had a meeting, our first interactive meeting back in, I want to say last December, with the highs and hellos.
right. Absolutely.
And I mentioned that you remind me of my sister so much, like your mannerisms and everything. So ahead of recording this episode, like I was out driving today and I was like, a calendar thing popped up because I tell you, I don't want to know the guests before they're on.
Right.
Calendar notification pops up an hour ahead and it said Bridget. And I was like thinking, I'm going to smile during the entirety of this conversation because I know the conversations that I have with my sister, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate you. So aside from that,
I remember that.
Bridget, could you give the world a summary of who you are?
Okay, let's hope I don't leave anything out. I've been notorious for doing that. But hi, everybody. So my name is Bridget Wood. As Will stated, I'm a registered licensed dietitian, certified diabetes care and education specialist. I'm also a person living with type 1 diabetes. It's been 15 years since August of this year. So definitely getting older. She's going to have a sweet 16 next year. So I'm excited to see what that unfolds. And I also work as a precision engagement implementation specialist for a digital health company for diabetes. But when I'm not doing that, I have clients for one-on-one coaching. I do public speaking. I've done recipe development. I've done consultation. I'm a board member for Risely Health as well as the RDCDCES. There's a lot of different things where I'm trying to get my, hands in so I can make sure that I have a seat at the table to make sure that we're all represented. Represented.
Look, represented twice.
Yes, I really want to make sure we're there.
Look, I get you, and you just mentioned a whole lot, and I jotted down quite a bit, but
Okay.
I didn't know you were a part of all of these things, and that just tells me, Bridget, that really you're just getting your feet wet. You're like truly deciding like which path is your path.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I was much more active, I will say, than I used to be. I took some time off to focus on myself, work on myself, get back to just really the self-care and self-love that I needed to make sure that I was good for everybody else. And so I feel like now I'm ready to get back into everything and, really make sure that we, again, have that representation as people with diabetes, as people of color living with diabetes, as Black people with diabetes. Part of me was like hoping that things kind of changed while I was on my little hiatus, but it seems to be more of the same. So there's always going to be that need. And I definitely feel like it is, and no, it's my calling because it wouldn't be like this otherwise, I feel. So
Right. We know that in this world that is evolving, certain doors, certain spaces, certain areas keep revolving.
Mm-hmm.
And one plus I must say, and that is that we never give up. We never give in. Because as I tell everyone, someday we will not only take on, but take over the world.
Yep.
It's in the making. It's in the making.
Yep. It's time.
It's past time. Seriously.
That's true.
Bridget, you just mentioned something about taking a break. And that made me think, I said, where did I first learn of Bridget? And if you know my memory, like today, my memory is like poof. But in the past, like I have what was diagnosed early on as HASM, highly superior autobiographical memory.
Okay.
And I remember exactly where I first came to learn about you from. I have a friend in the DOC who's like one of my closest friends, best friend. We don't talk as much anymore, but she brought you to my attention it seems like 4 or 5 years ago.
I might know who this is. Who is it? I definitely know who it is.
Priya.
No, I don't. Priya. Probably I would have to
You
see
don't Priya.
on.
Awfully sweet.
Yes. Oh, I love her. I love her. His sister's a dietitian. Yes, I do know.
Yep.
I always need to see the Instagram. The Instagram is like me and names is the Instagram handles. I like jot my memory. Yeah, she's the best.
I remember now. I'm like, yes, because she was talking about like nutrition and her sister, and you just brought that up. But yeah, that's how I was.
So cool.
You were brought to my attention.
Very small world.
Very small world. Even though you're out in the Nevada area.
Yes, Northern Nevada. Not originally, but
hiding away aliens and all that good stuff.
Some would think. Some would think
some of the people, no matter where you go, are alien-like.
Yeah, especially these days, but you know.
Right. So you did tell me about yourself a bit, but I did want to dig deeper into who you are as a person, because we know that who we are, who we present ourselves as, comes from experience, not of only ourselves, but of others also. So could you tell me about like growing up, who was your people, your mom, dad, brothers, sisters? I don't even know if you have siblings.
What? Okay, so I don't know how we get to this point. But yes, oh my gosh. So I do have a brother, an older brother. His name is Carl. Hey,
Carl.
Yes, that's his nickname. So we'll just use that. We won't use his government name, but Carl. Hi, Carl. And my people, so mom and dad, I've always been, people get surprised that I'm like shy, a little bit more introverted, more or less wanting to keep with like my close-knit family, my group, my people. So I was always kind of like that for the beginning until I got into like choir and singing, and that kind of helped with my performing and like being able to have a presence and turning it on and turning off. I'm still really bad with crowds, which people don't typically, you know, like public speaking, doing these types of things, meeting new people doesn't necessarily add up, but it does give me a lot of anxiety. But in any case, so that gifted and talented, so always been kind of a little nerdy, a little, wanting to always know knowledge and learn, and just that quest for truth always. About me. I have a dog. I have a husband. Hi, Austin. Hi, Troy. What else? This is the hardest question that anyone ever asked me.
Did you grow up in the Vegas? No, or not Vegas?
No.
You're not from Vegas, Nevada. Did you grow up in the Nevada area?
No, I'm actually not from Nevada at all. So I'm actually from Texas. So we moved here about 7 years ago. Grew up in Texas, originally from Port Arthur. Grew up in a small suburb of Houston, and that's kind of where I did. And that kind of like helped. I feel like it helps with a lot of different things in terms of like food taste, in terms of just types of people, groups of people. Growing in Houston, most diverse city in the world, so we have a little bit of everything, right?
Arthur, you can't.
Yes,
I am a hip hopologist. Like serious hip hop is my thing. Port Arthur.
So
Trill,
yes.
Bun B,
yes.
Pimp C,
Bun B, UGK,
yes.
all of it.
Yes, you can't just go swing past that without thinking I'm going to hit it. Like,
I mean, I know, and I usually do because people in the like usually do. So I forget who I was talking. I forgot who I was talking to.
And you decided after getting married to move to Nevada?
Yes. So not after getting married. So we didn't get married until we were here. My husband, my boyfriend at the time, he got a job here, so I decided to follow him, and we came together, and we've been here ever since. And it's been home, and really just wanted to change. As I stated earlier, like crowds and just like a lot of folks and people, like it can give me a lot of anxiety. And so like it was the promise of a lot for, life, more like, outdoorsy stuff I've always wanted to do, and having 4 seasons and not necessarily just having a lot of humidity. No shade to Texas, because I do love Texas and I do love my family back there, but the weather was very much so a deal breaker for me. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I just take it as you were not only developing, but growing into you, as an
Exactly.
adult. So with that, you're like, let's do the things that are best for us as we do continue to chase these dreams and career paths. Like for someone who has high anxiety, such as myself, I do. Many people don't see that, but if you get me like in certain crowds, you can see my blood sugar go from 87 to 300 in 0.5 seconds.
And stay there until I leave.
Exactly. Like I got a pre-bolus. Oh, me and my wife celebrated our 11th wedding anniversary this past weekend.
Oh, congrats.
And we went to Baltimore to see Maxwell.
Okay.
And I'm calm the whole time, but my blood sugar's not. I step in there, it's like 111. Let me tell you, once we were leaving, I was like 300 plus.
Yeah.
Like steady dumping insulin. Like,
and it's the worst because it's like, I don't have to go to the bathroom more than I already have to. But then like for me, when my blood sugar is that high, that's all I can do. And so it's like, I'm already at the concert, like it's already a whole thing. And then I have to like go to, it's just frustrating, but yes.
Yeah, living the life we live.
Yeah, it's always something.
Only we truly understand it, unless you are the parent who's been nurturing a young child and growing with them with this chronic health condition.
Right.
With that's the only other person other than the people living it that I see or that I believe truly understands it, even beyond like medical professionals.
Oh, absolutely. Because they observe it, like you stated, like almost the same amount of time as somebody living with a disease. I was just thinking about this the other day because like I still get comments from people that will say, oh, the pump just doesn't do it for you, or like there's just an assumption that there's less effort and work going in from the person with diabetes because of the technologies that are available, but still not. And so like sometimes I forget that these people aren't immersed in these worlds, and so they don't necessarily have all of that knowledge overload and all the things that we're getting and access to, so they don't necessarily know. They know like the very high level of this, but it still gets frustrating, I guess. I don't know. This is real conversations with real people.
Look, I love these conversations because as we're having this conversation, I often think of how could we explain it to someone? Yep. And this is your conversation, Bridget. So like if you ever need to share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, anyone, you can just give them a link and be like,
absolutely,
this is my life living with diabetes.
That's true. You know what? That's the thing. I always feel like there's a personal obligation to educate the masses, and some of that education has to be, self-serve, right? Because I can't do it all. And this is what happens when you get burned out. Even with diabetes burnout, it doesn't necessarily always have to be just like taking care of myself, but always having to navigate the world with diabetes can be exhausting. And sometimes that is a contributor more or less to like the burnout that I'm experiencing. I don't know. But yes, you're absolutely right. Take that link, that Dana Tech from the ADCES, send it over. Little sheet. That's what I should do.
We should. This is your one pager.
Yep.
And on that one pager, someone should be able to just identify certain things with you.
Yep.
It's just like, I mean, even though when we go to like doctor's visits and they might give us like a little card of something, we might glance at it one time, flip it over. But if it's someone who truly cares for you, loves you, want to know more, then they'll hold on tight to it. Hold it sacred to heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. So you said your diabetes is about to turn 16.
Next year, yes.
Are you giving her the license to drive?
I mean, she's already been driving, it feels like, these past couple of years, so I don't even know.
Living with diabetes, we start early.
Yeah, we get the permit, the instructors, whatever it is. We start early. I was actually talking to another friend, and she was a client actually, and she a friend client, I guess you could say. And she was recommending that I have like a sweet 16 party and actually have like a theme. And I was like, that is a really good idea, because it is something that should be celebrated like every year, every day, every second with this. It should be celebrated. And it again, like I keep going back, like this was, I say this because I feel like in the first half of my diabetes journey, you know, it was more or less like ignoring it, not necessarily acknowledging it. You know, I can do everything, but not necessarily having it in the passenger seat with me, right? Because it's a partnership. And then like my middle part of the journey was more or less as convincing people that I can do everything with diabetes, right? So a lot of stuff was kind of downplayed. It wasn't necessarily recognizing some of my very realistic limitations. And we never like to hear it, because there's no true limitations, but there's things that you do need to be aware of, do need to be cognizant of. We are human, right, at the end of the day, so there's going to be a limit to anything that we can do, and that can impact our diabetes. And so this new journey into like this next phase, I want to make sure that I'm doing a better job of being like truthful to myself, but also others around me in terms of everything, because it's not necessarily doing, it's in my mind, it kind of does a disservice, because we're literally like walking modern day superheroes, right? Because we're keeping ourselves alive literally 24/7. Like, I don't think anybody really realized how grand and how amazing that is for us. And not to say, and again, it is not necessarily easy, it's not hard, and I'm not saying that there aren't going to be hard days, but that's a lot of work to still live day to day, do what we do, and then also be responsible for us and whomever else in our life that we are responsible for. So I don't know. I just want to own that. I want to communicate that better. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because I think especially as the whole landscape of diabetes and diabetes management and medications and whatever else, I think it's going to be very important to, you know, very apparent that we're still here, that people with diabetes still need help. People with insulin-dependent diabetes still need assistance. We still need technology. We still need things. It doesn't necessarily need to be focused on one sector or the other, in terms of diabetes development and so on and so forth. And I keep pausing because I keep seeing myself not. I think my connection is messed up, so I apologize. Also, side note.
It's good. It's happened like 3 times, but
Okay.
it's not a horrible glitch.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I did want to tap in and talk more about what you just mentioned.
Mhm.
Because as someone who's worked in trauma therapy, it's something that often goes unspoken, not spoken about.
Mhm.
People doing whatever they can to keep themselves alive. That's a true, as I interject here, traumatizing thought. Just to think about that and to know that at any given second, because you and I both, Bridget, depend on man-made insulin.
Mhm.
We depend on a lot of technology. We depend on people being on time. And if any of these things go awry, then it can put us in a place where we're struggling to stay alive.
Right.
Like, who would think that a person it can actually do something and keep those measurements like embedded in their head to stay afloat in this thing called life. Like at any given time, something can go wrong with the insulin we're injecting, whether it administers too much or something is wrong with the absorption. It doesn't hit in time. And we're dependent on ourselves to be able to maneuver in a way to fix that. So as I say that, I must gift you your flowers, Bridget, because no one else has kept you alive but you.
Absolutely.
We didn't choose this.
No. Mm-mm. We didn't. Dang, I feel like I always get emotional when I'm on the call with you. It's just we didn't choose this, and it's just bringing a lot of emotion because I did recently, a few weeks ago, have like a really scary low where the paramedics had to be called. And that's happened a few times in my life, but it hasn't happened recently, and so it was one time where I couldn't depend on myself actually, because before there's always been instances where this has like happened or like near close or like I've done things in between the actual, you can hear my sugar high now, in between the actual ambulance visit and like passing out and so on and so forth. This time I was unable to help myself and I had to rely on somebody else. And so it's scary. It's scary because nobody knows your diabetes as well as you do. So of course, we're going to be the ones, unless you, again, outside the caregiver, we're going to be the ones who's like, we're always going to have to show up and stuff. No matter like the day, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we have to do, no matter what obligations, no matter what responsibilities. And that's a lot to ask, but we didn't get asked. You know what I mean? Like we didn't ask for this. It just kind of happened. So anytime people outside of the community, they'll say, like those who do know a little bit, they'll say how strong you are. They'll say how strong. We didn't get a choice. Like the alternative is it's not good. So I don't know. It's a lot.
And with that is why we do celebrate.
Yeah.
It took me years. I won't say that I ever neglected diabetes, but I just treated it like you said. It was the passenger. So, I mean, I just did what I could to make sure that I kept myself alive. Not well, just kept myself alive. And as you just stated, like how it becomes extremely emotional. It does, knowing that we're doing these things. But that's why today we celebrate. We get out there, we party, we tell diabetes like, I got you, you don't got me.
Yep.
And I mean, today, because of the advancements in technology, faster acting insulin, we can stay a bit ahead of it more so. But also, everyone doesn't have the same access to the same insulin, the same technology. And when we have certain conversations, a lot of the conversations miss out on speaking about the access. Because how can you and I, who are here, we're able to get our insulin, so most of our technology. But how can we have those conversations with someone who's in a country, like I've spoken with multiple people in Uganda, who've never even seen a CGM beyond over a screen? That's why we celebrate the things that we have,
Right.
the advancements we have, that celebrate the people who came to your care in that time of need. Because we know it, many people don't know, like we're doing some handy work here. Like we got some strength behind us that's helping us push through this fight. And as people say, pray on it, we do pray on it. We do. We got a whole hold on to our faith and our beliefs, because someday, I don't know when that day is, but someday, it hopefully in our lifetimes, for the people of the future, they won't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want it on my worst enemy. I don't have any enemies, but
I mean, I got a couple, but I'm just kidding.
look,
No.
look. You were once a middle school girl, so I understand.
Right. Like, I mean, maybe a little bit of a, I don't know, what can I make them have? It's not that crazy. I'm just kidding. But no.
Lord.
No, I totally, I would agree. Like, it's not something that I wish on anybody. Again, like, and this is not, I'm not trying to take it into like a darker place, but it is real, right? There's going to be always that duality of things because you are doing a lot of amazing things. We are blessed to have the technology. We are able to have normal jobs and walk around and do things that even people decades ago, not decades, a decade ago, was not able to do. So like, we are offered a lot of additional opportunities that we would not have had. But I always like to have that, asterisk, like this doesn't come without a lot of work and sacrifice, because I think it is important to have both of those represented. What do I keep saying represented? Is that it's my new word? It's my new word. It's blood sugar, I think. So represented.
It's all of those political ads that are popping up
everywhere. I'm like, oh my, like I will vote. I promise. I definitely will.
Right. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. It's okay. But anyway.
Yeah. So, and like you previously said about I don't know if you said a couple weeks ago, you not being able to be in control of it. Many people who don't live with this condition or who don't help care for or manage this condition, they don't know the true intricacies of living with insulin dependence. Like when we say dependence, like we truly depend on this. We can't go days without it. If we choose to, we're facing the inevitable. And with that comes fears also. Many of us live with fears of insulin, even though it's the one thing that keeps us alive.
I wish that we had more resources available across the board, or that mental health was intertwined with diabetes management a lot better. Because there are things and traumas and things that we experience that I wish we had people who are actually trained or aware, which there are people that are available, but not on a wider scale. And the reason why I say this is because myself, going back a couple of weeks ago, I essentially was running myself higher, right? So anytime I saw, which I know as a diabetes educator and dietitian, I know, guys, I'm not supposed to do, but
You're
mentally,
human. You're
right?
human.
Yeah, I'm human, right? So I'm human, I work I'm by myself, like during the day, right? So these were fears. I was terrified that I was going to have an issue and not be able to handle it. So I was overtreating my lows, not, not catching the highs when I should have been catching them. But again, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? So there's all different things that are going in my brain because of the fear and the traumas. And so even though I have that knowledge and know exactly what I'm supposed to do and what's learned, the environment, my experiences are impacting what I'm actually able to do in that moment. And I don't think that's necessarily, there's no time. Also, I'll say there's no time in your traditional visits to necessarily like get into that type of stuff, but I wish there was, besides the diabetes online community, somewhere that it was widely available for these people to know that it's normal. It happens. We have these feelings. Your feelings are valid. Because to other people outside, they're like, well, just get a juice, right? Just get some orange juice. Just have that with you. And it's like, yes, I have juice. I have glucose, not glucose tablets. I have glucose packets. I have glucose gel. I have all these different things. But it's not that easy. So.
Nothing about living with this condition is easy unless you were birthed with the brain to like your parents knew at 18 months, oh, they're going to be some kind of biology major, physicist,
Yeah.
someone who will be figuring out new theories and
Mensa at 2 or something, like you're a
right,
genius, right? That would
right,
be the only
right.
time.
Now that's my 10-year-old, so he's going to
Oh,
figure
yeah,
this out.
please.
He has already told
He is.
everyone.
He
Yeah,
is.
but yeah, the traumas of diabetes are real, and for anyone who's paying attention to this, please just take the time to just hear the people out and learn them. If you're someone who's close to someone like a parent, sibling, spouse, take the time to actually just pay attention to them and learn them. Learn how they move during certain situations because that will help better them. Because we all have had someone say something like, "Is your sugar high? Is your sugar low?" Like we've all had that, and
That's what
we've all given that roll of the eye also because we all say, "I got this," when we should be able to open ourselves up to others trying to help us because truly those who love us most, they just want us to be our best.
exactly. That was exactly what I was thinking about. Like people saying, "Is your sugar high? Is your sugar low?" Like I can tell, and it's like you were just saying, like listen to these people and what they're actually saying. Like sometimes a comment is just there to offer support, right? It's not necessarily there. It's not there. It's not necessarily. It's not there for you to judge. It's not there for you to have any hidden irritation, judgment, or like just, oh, you should know better. Those types of things. We're not looking for those types of comments. And if that's where it's coming from, then don't. And I don't think it's necessarily like you stated, like it's not necessarily something that's coming out of malice, but it's like it still can be received that way. So it would be really awesome if, everyone would just listen a little. And that goes for everything, right? Just listen a little bit better, listen a little bit more. Sometimes we're just like in the moment, not necessarily paying attention. I don't know. But I think what can happen is people just assume and like that's not the truth. That's not the case. I kind of got off of what I was trying to say, but basically what I'm saying is like sometimes we're just there because we need, a little bit of like support. That's it. Like I'm not necessarily looking for you to offer me anything more than that. So
Right. We don't need anyone nagging us.
no,
Anyone thinking
that's
that they know more about diabetes than us. Because we've all received a message from someone that said, I mean, they may have not even said anything. It just might have just been like a clip of someone putting seaweed in a water or drinking vinegar. And we've all received these things. And like, what do we say with that? Like,
right. It's like I understand like it's most like you said, good place, but wrong message, wrong delivery, wrong everything, but appreciated.
right.
Appreciated. But I don't know.
Yeah, I had a cousin recently who his my my one cousin, first cousin who has type 1 diabetes. Um her brother reached out to me and was like, because his sister's going through chronic kidney disease and everything, and he's like keep telling her you should try a raw vegan diet and detox more often. Yeah, and I had so much to say to him, but I didn't. I sent him a link because she also has gastroparesis. I told him about the
Yeah.
fiber intake because he's like, all she needs is fruits and vegetables. And I said, fast acting carbs. Like, we just got to balance our own diet. Balance our own diet. Learn more about the disease before you try to heal someone.
Right. Like, and that's from real sources, not from what you see on,
Mm-hmm.
random things that you saw that were because you need to go to the actual source of this information to know all the actual information, so then you could actually communicate that appropriately. And so again, it's coming from a well-meaning place, but there are things it's interesting because diabetes is one of there's a lot of different conditions, but diabetes is the most where I'll see people try to tell other people what they're supposed to be doing about. I'm like, how do you know my business? How do you know my business? How do you know about my body? You don't.
I think
So
it's
it's just
more so
weird.
because diabetes for so long has been used as a pun in the media. So now, anytime someone hears diabetes, they think ate too much sugar, junk food, um, those types of things. That's all they think about. Unhealthy lifestyles, not not knowing much more about it. Right now, Bridget, I wanted to tap into you more personally living with diabetes. So you said that your diabetes is going on 16. When were you diagnosed, or how old were you when you were diagnosed?
So I was 17. I was diagnosed in 2009. So it was the summer before my senior year of high school. Um, Nobody else. I'm the only one in my family with type 1 diabetes. We've always had people in the family with type 2 diabetes. Um, but it wasn't necessarily, I'd say a lot of common things in the past, especially with diabetes in the Black community, is sometimes it's seen as just a touch of sugar. It's a touch of sugar. It's not necessarily seen as something that is as involved and serious as it is. And
Mhm.
that's not for anyone's fault, except I could see in the education in terms of healthcare providers, we're working to try to get it a lot better, but it isn't necessarily where it needs to be for everyone to be aware of what they need to do to empower themselves to take care of their own diabetes. And especially back then, right? Because there wasn't that much medication. People were on metformin, Aptos, what have you. They're on different things that it was kind of well, here's a Band-Aid. So that was more or less my start. And in the beginning, I will say it was more being at home with my parents and them helping with going to classes and going to, with carb counting and having things ready together and meals. That was a lot helpful. I didn't necessarily feel as, I don't want to use ostracized, but I didn't feel as alone, right? When I was in high school, with everything, I was still on MDI. Then college comes. For some reason in my head, I get in my head that people are going to see that I have diabetes. I had an animus pink, so it was pink. I still miss that pump. But
Everyone I've spoken to that used that Animus Ping missed that bump. They said it was so cute.
it, it was so cute. It was pink, it was pink. It had the separate meter that did the basically you could give yourself insulin from the meter. So it was ahead of its time. I feel it had a lot of stuff. Either way, but for some reason, even with that, I was convinced people were going to see that I had diabetes. Guys were going to see me that I had diabetes. People weren't going to be my friend. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking it, right? And so, therefore, for the bulk of my college career up until junior year, I kind of just pretended it wasn't there, or it would be a joke, or pretend it wasn't a thing, right? So going to class without my pump connected, not knowing what my blood sugar is during the day, not eating anything all day until I get home after classes. Just really disordered behavior. But again, that's where I was. That's what the headspace where I was. And I'm very fortunate that I didn't have any issues at the time from anything that I was doing, because I very much feel could have, but I didn't. So I'm very grateful for that. But it was, I would say, a transformative time in my life, because then at the very same time, I was I'm going to be a diabetes educator. And how does that make sense? I think that's also part
It's
of
more so
why.
probably if I can't do it, then no.
Right. I'm if I can't, then, let me try to see how I can help other people. So it was like that. And it wasn't like, okay, so let me go back. I wasn't initially, I was pre-pharm. So I was interested in pharmacy, and then I was like, eh. So then we went to nutrition, and that's kind of where the diabetes education, dietitian whole picture came through. And I think also that helped me start to recognize my diabetes a lot more. And then just prior to meeting Austin, coming out of like a bad breakups and whatever else, and just being like, I'm tired of everybody being wild and like just not taking my anything into consideration. Like, I got to start living for Bridget. And so I did. And I was like, I don't care what anybody says. So like, I started to pay attention a little bit more. And then when Austin came around, he was like actually interested. And he was like one of the first guys and people that I talked to that I was really more open about my diabetes. And again, that kind of took it to that next level. So like, for me, being that introvert, being that person who is more guarded in a way, like having somebody to help me, or like a support system of sorts, which obviously they always talk about support is like the biggest thing that you can have, but it is, right? So having that support, having somebody there that just believes in you, that really did help kind of take some of that weight off, and I think help with that confidence with diabetes and taking care of myself a lot more. So
Truly understood. There's an episode that's released today with a young lady where she talks about the college years, how in high school and everything, like she handled diabetes. She was diagnosed at age 7. She said middle school, high school was nothing. She said, but college, she said, just walking around with that pump on me. She said it was like, I can't do this. So she said she would just disconnect her pump, like you said.
It's I'm glad to hear you say that, because it's like, I'm like, nobody else talks. But like, I think also too was not realized is like the ping pump was cute, but it was still bulky, right? So it's like some of us have like the T-Slim, which is thin in comparison to like the ping, and like even now, so Mobi or like pods, things that are more discreet. And it's not like, I know a lot of people now that are like, oh, be proud of your devices, like especially the diabetes online community, but we didn't have that much of that representation back then, because social media was not like how it was now. But there were people out there, but it was a lot harder to find. So it was like far and few between. And so it was a lot different. So like, I would like try stuff on, and I'd be like, oh my God, this big old pump is just like hanging here. Like people are going to see. Which why, again, hindsight, it's like, it's either that or me be on the floor, which again, thank God it never happened. But young minds, this is what they think of. So
Look, I put it as a person, someone who doesn't live with diabetes, who doesn't have any of the technology, they equally have issues or concerns with physical appearance.
Yep.
So you may purchase a certain type of gown or dress, and it comes with something on it, like some kind of like emblem or something on it. You're like, ugh, like this thing doesn't look right. Like, let me take this off, right? Same goes with like any type of accessory, whether it's a hair accessory, earrings, whatever. If it doesn't look right with your fit, then you're not going to want to wear it. And then, I mean, people don't even know what the thing is you're carrying. Like, she's carrying a pager still. Like,
a heart monitor. Some girl asked me this, and I hope she's well. I was out, and the one time I was out and I had it on, someone asked me if I had a heart monitor on, and I was like, wow. So then again, it's like, no malintent, but also these are thoughts and interactions that like are marked forever in your brain. So it's these things you go back to. So then like it does impact. So I don't know.
right. Like, is that a GPS device? Like, everyone's whispering, like, is Bridget being monitored? What did she do? What did she? And you're like, I've never been arrested.
Like,
there was that.
Like, a mistake. Like, okay.
Right. But again, like you said, that's just a moment where, I mean, people, they're not educated in it, because ahead of you getting diabetes, you didn't know these things. Just think at 16-year-old Bridget, if you were out and you saw someone with something, a device hanging on their chest,
Yep.
first thought is maybe something to do with their heart, or you may
I
think
mean,
something crazy.
yeah, exactly. It wouldn't, I can tell you it wouldn't have been diabetes. I can tell you that for sure. It absolutely been that. So,
Exactly. I remember being at a pool many years ago, an outdoor pool, and it had to
mhm,
be in like when I don't know if it was like beginning stages of like modern CGMs or
mhm.
pods. It's one or the other, but I remember like seeing someone at the pool with it on, and it was like a small child, and I'm like, why do they have
What is
that
that?
patch on? Like, and I was someone who was living with diabetes, but the sensors and the pods weren't around then. And I'm like, what is that monitoring on them? Is this some kind of GPS so they won't get lost? Or like,
It's not a
I
bad
mean,
idea, I
I mean,
guess, actually.
it was a smart idea. Like, okay,
Yeah,
you got some toddlers running around at the pool. Let's stick this GPS on them and keep it going.
that's so smart.
It,
But no, it wasn't. And like, again, like, I keep going back to like the diabetes online community, but like a lot of technology and things and even insulins that exist, I feel like a lot of people would not be aware of if it was, even today in 2024, if it were not for the diabetes online community, because they're not necessarily receiving that information at their visits.
Bridget, the
So,
amount of conversations I have with people off air that reach out to me and they have no clue what these pumps are. People that are living with type 1 diabetes, any insulin dependent diabetes, like they're like, I've never ever, they were like, you think I should do the pump? And they're like, what is MDI? And I'm like, that's what you're currently doing, multiple daily injections. It's so many people daily reach out asking these questions. And that's because the lack of and not only engagement, but the lack of like just one big envelope of information that tells someone who's newly diagnosed what these are. Bridget, over the last month, I've had at least 3 people reach out to me and say like they were in DKA and they didn't know that they had to take their basal insulin, people that were MDI. And I'm like, I understand that you didn't because they truly think that they've truly come up with or been taught that they only need to inject insulin for food. So not no, they're like, I was I was eating less, so I said I don't need the Lantus, so I'll just give my Humalog. Like that's just education, and I tell them it's not on you.
it's not on them, and that's my reactions. And I apologize for like the visual reactions.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on them, and I apologize for interjecting, but it's not their fault. I get frustrated for other reasons.
Yeah, that's where I mean I try to let them know like it all starts with basil.
Yeah,
Like
it also
it it,
but it's the truth. It
it all
does. Um, it's unfortunate, and I feel I think what one thing I like to encourage people to do is, and they're doing this because they're arming themselves with knowledge. But I think when we grow up, you know, for some of us, especially when we've had continuous medical care throughout our entire lives, or just having just this assumption of what the medical team is and what they do, I think we put a lot of trust in that, as we should, right? They're supposed to be your advocate in health. So they're supposed to be the person that, or the people that help you obtain this knowledge and help you manage the things that you're going through. But unfortunately, I find that because of how our healthcare infrastructure is, you know, that time, whereas, you know, I remember when I was diagnosed, I had the fortunate, ability to go to an endocrinologist that was in the same clinic with my diabetes educator, my RDLD, in the same building as my lab. So I could have everything done in that same spot. And I was able to spend time with my endocrinologist more than like 20. It wasn't like this 10-minute, 15-minute, what have you, more than that, 20 minutes. And then I would go spend time with my diabetes educator either before or after the visit. And so I had everything built in. And so I was able and fortunate to have the ability to have the knowledge that I did because of things like that. But unfortunately, because of how healthcare costs more and more and more, and sometimes the aim and the goal is not necessarily focused on making people the best version of themselves that they can be and more on revenue. A lot of those visits and those resources get cut short. And so the people who do suffer is not the health system. It's not the physicians. It's people living with those conditions and actually having to deal with that and diabetes. And so I really encourage people to go and arm themselves with all the knowledge that they can, because we might think that the specialists or those people know everything about what they're treating, but no. It's not always the case. We can't rely on that anymore.
Right.
We just really can't. We
And
could never, but especially not.
And some of that education they may have may be a bit dated. Yeah. And as we move forward, Bridget, so I actually broke this down in our conversation as we've been conversing. You had said something early on. You were like, your first half was ignorant. So we went over that already. Your second half was convincing. This is what we've been going through. And now you're the journey of your truth. And having this conversation with you, I mean, I know you more so personally than probably other people in the DOC, because we've had more intimate conversations. And I can tell you and everyone out there that this Bridget Wood, RDLDCDCES, is a true empathetic at heart, like in her soul. Like she truly cares for the people, not only the people she knows, people who she blindly knows. She cares for this community. And after we've just gone through these first two chapters, these first two cycles of your life, it tells me a bit more about who you are and why you do the things you do, why you are the person you are. Because, I mean, you were diagnosed at 17 years young, still a kid. You had to take on a great responsibility. You had to convince yourself that you do have diabetes, really, and that you are the person that's keeping you alive. This is all a part of your journey. And I must go now into something I highlighted here as you were talking about 15 minutes ago. You spoke about your husband. And I highlighted husband and openness because I knew that this would bring us to the full cycle of your journey, because you said that before your husband, Austin, correct? Before Austin, you didn't have that, basically that person. You didn't have that support. You didn't have that person who didn't have to ask you everything, but was just there to gain from you and gift Austin his flowers, man to man, because him with his openness has helped you in this continued journey. It has helped you develop truly into your own form of who you are, because before you may have seen someone and like, I'm not going to ever speak to them about my diabetes.
Right.
But now, like him being so open and you inviting him into your world, into this space, because I know for many years I held on tightly to my diabetes like it's only mine.
Yep,
Like,
exactly.
no one else knows this. Like it's mine,
But
truly. But when we're able to open up, as in anything but life, this is a session of therapy right here, Bridget. As we're
so
able
I'm
to
crying.
open up and share and speak with people the experiences that we've dealt with, truly being diagnosed with a chronic health condition is a traumatizing experience. As we're able to open up and speak these truths, we'll equally be able to open up and speak other truths. Now, nothing is holding you back.
Dang, I need to hear that. I need to hear that. But yes,
And,
nothing is, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
and Bridget, I also wrote here, I wrote Dr. Bridget because although you may not be seeking that, I can see that. And I'm pretty sure you've heard that before. I can see that, Bridget,
Sorry.
because you getting me teary eyed. Like, I can truly see that in you because of not only your lived experience, your educated experience, but the life you've lived and the way you're able to share that. And you're not like a lot of people are like judgy. You're not judgy at all.
Yeah,
Like you're truly like, okay, we're going to work with what we got.
yeah,
We're going to
that's
work
what we
with what
can
we
do.
got to make the world and each individual inside of it better than they were before they came into my care. And that's what all people who work in healthcare that actually work with people should be leaning towards doing what I have to make their lives less of a burden. And that's something you do. You're amazing,
Oh,
Bridget. Smile. You're amazing.
thanks.
Keep being amazing. And
Thank
when you
you.
do have that celebration, that 16-year celebration, I'm going to celebrate with you because I truly love us. And
Yeah,
some people, I've heard someone say recently, like, you always say that, Will, because I truly do.
yeah.
I truly do. Like, I love everyone as much as I love me. Like, we all have a purpose.
Right.
There's a bigger plan, but we must all settle into that. And as I see you settle into it, and as you see me settle into it, we may not even have conversations in the passing, but I'm going to feel your smile because I know that you're again on the journey that you set out to be on. And as we do wind down, Bridget, I'm going to ask, is there anything that we did not cover that you truly wanted to cover in this space?
Covered a lot. I think we've covered it all. Um, you know, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the tears, happy tears, things that I need to hear, things that resonate because like you said, we're all on these journeys and I'm wholeheartedly somebody who believes like everything that does happen, it does happen for a reason. And when you are purpose, when you are on the right path, you feel it. And I feel like that's where I am now. And so it's like, you fight it for a little bit and then you embrace it and then you see all these things start to happen and then lets you know you're in the right direction. Right. So, with that said, all I can say is tell everybody to stay tuned. My website, bridgetwoodwellness.com. So more or less nutrition consultation, public speaking, those types of services. If there's any interest there in terms of group, even speaking to support groups, diabetes, keeping it in the fam, it's a little bit, if you're a company, it's a little bit different, but if you're a diabetes group, we can make it work. So
Look, I'm here to get you paid also, Bridget. Look,
I know.
look,
I'm like the people
look,
have to pay, but
look, somebody gonna pay to get Bridget aligned with their organization and sponsorships, ads, all of the above. Because as I said, like you've truly gained confidence living with diabetes. That's something we do gain because a lot of people, when they're diagnosed with chronic health conditions, all of that is like taken from them.
Yep.
But right now, here today, we've grown confidence. Even when we're sucking on that juice box like a 2-year-old toddler on the floor, 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, whining.
like eating some fruit snacks.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, like a baby, like for real. I need my mots.
Right. I need my mots. Like ASAP.
Yeah. But one last thing I wanted to ask you. So we all, as people living with type 1, people living with any insulin dependence, we follow a lot of research and science. It's like something we have to do. So I must ask you, Bridget, on the day we speak this into existence, on the day a cure is here and readily available to everyone, and everyone wakes up and they're truly cured 100% of diabetes, like the diabetes fairy god, whoever has come through and sprinkled all of his dust, and we're all good. We wake up, blood sugar's at 82. We step onto the floor and it doesn't even budge. Like, brush your teeth, everything, nothing. On that day, you are fully cured from diabetes. What do you do?
I am going to go to an all-inclusive resort, and I'm going to eat all the food. I'm going to be out without my devices. I'm just going to be screaming and hollering and telling people I don't have diabetes anymore, and just going to be living my life. I think what also, I say that like it'll make any difference to live my life now. But it'll be a lot more freeing to be living my life. So.
What's the song? How the song go? Living my life like it's golden.
Living my life like it's golden.
Yes. And on that day, Bridget, hopefully we can all get out and celebrate with you, because I see it in the future.
A group trip. I do.
And hope is something that truly helps us in pushing forward while living with this chronic health condition.
Absolutely.
Bridget, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it doesn't, even though we're not there, like we need all of us on board. Like, again, and I don't mean like you have to do things that are outside of your comfort zone, because some people, they don't like being on social media. They don't like talking. They don't like support groups. They don't like being social. That's fine. Do what is under your own control. It could just be starting at home and like actually empowering your own self to feel more comfortable with diabetes. But if you are one of those people who want to work in the diabetes sector, work at diabetes companies, get online, don't feel like there's too many people out there, because we all need more stories. We all need more people. We need more representation. So it doesn't end there, and we have to have that until we get to that day. So that's all I wanted to say.
You got it. Bridget, I truly thank you, my sister, for joining me on this journey that is the Chronically Well podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard, because Bridget, you are someone that truly needs to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.